love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I am excited to be here with you again today. I'm your host, Jan Carden, and I have with me Jan Carroza. And Jan, I'm so excited to have you on the show, and we are going to talk about all the great things you're doing out there and marketing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Jan, tell everyone what you do and what you are known for.
Sure. I spent about 40 years in the marketing space, doing television advertising offline that you and I share an affinity for, radio, television, newspaper, all the traditional kinds of methods, and moved into online back in 2000 or so. I wrote a book based on my experience working in performance marketing, which was known as direct response marketing before that. Rock and ROI, how to boost your e-commerce marketing with performance-based marketing. And then I started coming up on a year ago, a podcast that you were one of my guests on, and I've really enjoyed the process to do that and to do a newsletter. I write on Medium, and all these topics are related to growing your business, improving your marketing, getting more for your money, and getting as much as you can without spending any money. And that's kind of the focus of the post, 30 ways to leverage other people's platforms to improve your awareness, credibility, and your revenues.
I love it. I love it. So how long have you been doing exactly what you're doing right now, using all of that experience?
I know, yeah. The book came out in 2000, just 3-4 years ago now, as we roll into 2024 here. And the podcast is about a year old. And so in the meantime, just been doing other writing and working in an online marketing group, the Marketing Trailblazers that Denise Wakeman manages. It's a terrific networking group that everybody kind of lifts all boats, right? So you discover a problem, or you found something wonderful, and you share it with the group, and everybody learns from it. So it's a good experience.
Very nice. I love it. Yeah. So you said something, it used to be direct response marketing. Now it's called performance marketing. When did you see that sort of change?
Yeah, well, direct response, if you think about couponing, so when I started in advertising, that was one of the ways we could measure what was going on in terms of results from a newspaper or magazine coupon. And then around the 1980s, we had toll-free numbers. And that changed the world for being able to track a lot more efficiently and a lot faster how something was working. With a coupon, you kind of had to wait till they got collected and sent back. And I mean, that's still how couponing can work today, unless it's a digital coupon that sends you to a website. And so now we've got 24/7 response on those things. So yeah, I was fascinated by the ability to see how well things worked and how quickly. And so then my feeling about direct response advertising as it rolled into the internet is the ability to know instantly how things are working, so that when you run a pay-per-click ad, when you do anything out there on the internet, you can see in your results, however you track what's going on in terms of leads or registrations or whatever you're trying to measure, then you can go back in and say, okay, I've put this amount of effort, this amount of money into this, and I've gotten this kind of a return. And you can analyze, okay, how can I improve my copy to be able to get a better result than what I'm getting.
Isn't it amazing? You and I coming from the old, the old world.
I know.
Marketing. And I talk about, I was thinking about my first business I had to run in magazines and international magazines.
Yeah.
And I tell this story and I say, look, I was already several $1,000s in before I would find out if that ad was even going to bring the return, because you had to do it, 2 or 4 months out. And so you were running ads, not even realizing if they were going to work until they hit. And even if that ad didn't do well, you couldn't even change it for 2 more ads out. And so the fact that we have at our fingertips in real time, it's so crazy, the world that we are living in right now when it comes to marketing and performance.
It's wonderful. I mean, and the fact that you can do things like have your direct mail connected to your Facebook and retargeting, and then be able to have these connections between the different platforms that you're using, so that you can take the benefit from that, because we know that you're increasing your reach rather than depending on frequency in one platform to get you the results that you want. And increasing that reach is how you want to do that. So when you add another channel, whether it's going to your local stations to be able to talk to people, don't even think I can go to my local radio station and persuade them to interview me on my topic. And it's just something I want to encourage more people to do, because it's free, and it's
just a big takeaway, everyone. Yes, that's a great takeaway.
And Jeff Herring is one of the people that talks about this as an experience that he had, where he got a regular gig being able to broadcast information. And so this is something I think people need to think about. Your local newspaper has a digital version, so it's not just one, and your radio and TV stations also have digital versions, right? So you can play both in the broadcast stations when you persuade somebody to interview you on a topic that is timely. And so you want to present that. I know this is one of the things that you do when you work with your clients, is to kind of build that entire campaign out of everything that you could do with. And that's what I admire so much about the coaching that you do.
Thank you. No, it's so great that you're talking about this, and so many opportunities that entrepreneurs and business owners have today that haven't always been around. And so I believe it's why there are 1,000 new millionaires every day, because of the results that we can get in marketing and speeding the success.
And keep working those channels so that you can keep looking at the results and don't fail to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
I heard the best quote the other day. I was talking to someone who she's a big podcaster, big live streamer now, and she has several agencies. She runs a lot of businesses, but I was chatting with her, and she used to be a producer in Hollywood. And she said, we no longer have to, this was a talk she gave, we no longer have to ask Hollywood for permission to be a celebrity. And I thought, that is brilliant. That's brilliant, because that really is the access that we have now when you're talking about all these channels. And I'm talking about it a little bit more from an influence standpoint. And you're talking about it more, from the analytics and the, the performance. But we're talking still about the same thing, about getting more reach, more eyeballs, more visibility, all of those things.
And you really hit a point there, because this is one of the big shifts. And this is true for authors as well. Because the authors these days are told, oh no, you have to have your own platform to come to us, the publisher. And we count on you to have 20,000 followers or whatever the number is to be able to support your own book. And then authors are starting to ask, like, well, why do I need this publishing house? Why do I have to beg a publishing house to take me? Mm-hmm. Right. So one of the things I love about your program is you work with people to develop a book. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people aren't thinking that a book is something either that they want to do, they ought to do, can provide value to them. It gives you instant credibility. Mm-hmm. You have your own platform. You can build your own base from that, let alone selling the book, but you can put the book as part of a course, but it certainly gives you credibility when you want to go out there in the world and present and increase your reach across platforms. I just love that concept of thinking that as part of your entire campaign as an entrepreneur, as a small business. Certainly for large businesses, I think they miss the opportunity to have something that is their path in the door, to talk to the media, to get the free exposure, to get the press opportunities, to be able to chat about, one, you've got the credibility, but because you're an author, but two, you have something to talk about when you want to make a point about a given thing. And three, you're building your own platform now that you can leverage to build your business, because now you can go out to other people with similar sized platforms. You can collaborate and do workshops or seminars together. You can do interviews of other people. The latest thing that I've really glommed onto, this idea of, I know it's very difficult for people who are in the writing space to put themselves out there. Mm-hmm. And they hesitate to take advantage of all those public speaking opportunities. But there are 100%. There are ways you can tiptoe, put your toe in the water and test it. And one of the things I've heard recently was the idea of doing short audio video clips with tips. And so you don't have to do the full hour webinar. You don't have to build the full course out. You can do a short email course. I love seeing these 5-day email courses where you get one a day, and it gives you something so that by the end of 5 days, you've got a transformational result that came from doing the course. And the course can be tied to your book. So you start to have everything working across your efforts, your channels, and bouncing and helping you find new people that find you through interviews that you're doing, or through articles you're publishing, or projects you're collaborating with. So now you begin to build this huge momentum. The more you do, like the more crumbs that you put out there, the more little trails back to you, to your foundation. And I love that on your 27 pieces, I don't have the title, 27 ways that you did. And then I did one that was the 30 ways to kind of do this. Your number one is building what I call the foundation.
Yes.
And that foundation is to have everything ready to help you leverage other people's platforms. And we both talk about that. So you've got to have your website ready, your social platform ready. You have to have a blog ready. If you plan on doing a podcast, it's good to kind of lock in. And with anything that you want to start, if it's a blog, you want to lock in 5 posts to get started or more, or a podcast, it'll lock in several. But I just love this new concept new to me concept of taking short, like doing mini series, of 5 tips that are 5 minutes long.
There's a lot of ways to practice, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
without the big commitment in
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I think is that people do, um, that so many of us that have been in sales positions have repeated the same thing with every prospect. You kind of get into, I have to do some education. I have to teach these people certain jargon about our industry, about our company. And that to me is something that can be done with video and recorded or done in an email course or some kind of course. So you never have to repeat it again unless you certainly don't have to repeat it as often because you let people find it. And now that's inbound traffic. And what's better than
so
inbound
many things
traffic?
I want to hit on here. First of all, when you're talking about putting out the whole power of content is it basically pre-sells you. When you do content in the right way, I love to get on calls with people because they're already sold. They're like, I want to know how it is to work with you. And I want to know how, what the investment is going to be. That is a very different sales conversation. And they've already checked me out. But if I didn't have content out there, if I didn't have a robust online presence, I'm still doing those same old sales calls where now I'm having to either convince people about what I do and why it's so important, or it takes a lot of time and energy, and then you might not have a buyer. And so to me, it's changed the game of sales 100%.
It is such a huge miss not to do something like that. But you've done a ton of things really, really well that I admire. One is the way you use testimonials. And that to me has always been something. I mean, direct response TV has been using testimonials for years, but print advertising, we use testimonials in print advertising. It's always been the thing to have a third party talk about you is better than you talking about you.
100%.
And that's why leveraging other people's platforms is so important, to share that wisdom with other people and establish your expertise. There's nothing better. I mean, you can't even, it's better than paid advertising is to have your testimonials in place. One of the other things. Oh, yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, one of the other things that you've done that I haven't seen anybody else do is that when you get mentioned in print or when you've published an article in print, you take it and you put it on your featured section of LinkedIn. And I don't think people do enough with LinkedIn. If you're a professional and you're trying to sell your business, you really need to have a good presence there and work it, right? So networking is, for me, networking is responsible for 15 out of the 16 jobs I ever had, for so much of the new business I got. And one of the things I tell people that are in the 20 somethings that are going into college is start to build your networking list now as you meet people, keep notes about them, nurture that relationship. It just means so much. And that's one of the easiest places for people to begin to expand their program, to do more of using other people's platforms, is develop those relationships.
Well, LinkedIn is a huge place for me, and it's a huge place. I move for my clients, I teach them how to make LinkedIn work, but everyone should be on LinkedIn. And I'm actually glad you brought up LinkedIn, because even though I could talk about LinkedIn all day long, and I won't do that because this is a show about you. But the one thing that people need to understand is that your LinkedIn platform is actually, in most cases, going to be get you better reach and be more robust than your website. It is almost like a mini website, but it gets right at the top of Google when it's optimized and you have it set up in the right way, and it really builds credibility. And there was a statistic that I actually posted in an article that it was really high. It was 70-something% of people said they would trust a brand more to buy from them if they were on LinkedIn. That's a huge number. That people, and that is 2 times the buying power on LinkedIn too. So,
go ahead.
No,
No,
I
I
was
was
going
going
to
to
say, so
say,
to your point, yeah, you need to be there, and you
right.
need to use that platform for all of its benefits.
And I don't have the statistic on it, but I will tell you from personal experience, whenever you want to do business with somebody, the first thing people tend to do is go to LinkedIn to
True.
look that person up.
Mm-hmm.
So at a minimum, have a decent presence so
Yes.
that people can understand. I mean, you've done such a great job using that featured section so of your profile, and I recommend that people really kind of look at your profile and look at your section to kind of get an idea of here's the things that you could be doing
Mm-hmm.
to let people know, and put your testimonials in there, put your presence. You know, when you do some kind of interview together with someone, post that information or post the articles that you write on LinkedIn there, so that it's high on the profile when people come to check you out.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But
Yeah.
it definitely it is an opportunity for everyone in business, even if you're not going to play, even if it's not your playground, I say, you should still be on LinkedIn, and you should still have
Right.
a robust platform and have that profile optimized, because it is a free digital asset, and you are missing a huge opportunity to, again, be featured, build up your digital footprint. And so that's a
Right.
really important thing. One other thing that I really want to hit on that you were talking about is you were talking about authors that were kind of afraid to get out there and speak and do those things.
Yes.
But I want to encourage anyone listening to this. Look, public speaking is a skill set that you can learn. You just need to take the time to learn it and want to be committed to learning it. Marketing is a skill set you can learn. It's a skill set you can learn. We're not born natural salespeople. We're not born public speakers. We're not born knowing how to market. Those are all learned skills. And so I think maybe I don't have as much empathy for people that don't want to step out, because if you're going to be in business or you're really going to accomplish much, these are skills just like anything else that you need to build on. You need to learn them.
Right.
Otherwise, it's
You're
going to be a hard
absolutely
road.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, so with like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more
100%.
comfortable. You know, you're less nervous about it. I mean, I still get nervous, and I had some great advice from a colleague years ago when I started, and I said, how do you feel when you go and you're going to do a seminar? And he's like, if you don't have a few butterflies, you won't do well, but you don't want to have so many that you're overwhelmed. So
that you're throwing up.
yeah,
Right, not throwing up. You know, I will tell, here's how, so I have to work people through a lot of this as I'm helping them build their influence and get seen and all of that kind of thing. And one of the things that I tell people that really does help them, I say, look, imagine that you're just talking to someone about your thing and your expertise. One person, just imagine that you're just having a natural conversation. And you know, when you're passionate about something, you're excited and you just can't wait to tell them. And if you do that and you put yourself sort of in that, and you are serving the other person, you are there to help them, to serve them. When you take yourself out of the equation and you consider the other person, it totally lowers the resistance that you have. It puts you more at ease. It's like you're making it too much about you. Quit making it about you. Make it about the other people. Make it about the people in the audience. Make it about your message. Make it about what you have to share. And when you put the other people first, or the other person first, you will find you take a back seat, and things will be more natural. They'll come from your heart. You'll be more giving, and just show up and serve people. And if more people thought about speaking that way, that really is what speaking is. The only difference is it's more structured. You know, this is what I want to talk about, but that's it. I mean,
yeah. And I think it comes down to thinking about one person. You can feel overwhelmed if there's a room of a lot of people. So sometimes it's just like pick one person
But
to
don't
talk
picture
to.
them in their underwear. That's really bad advice. I don't know who ever thought of that, because you can't focus when that terrible old school advice.
Yeah. No, you're right. That brings up images you just don't need, even if it's Christmas
I
pajamas.
agree.
Yeah.
So agree.
No,
But
but you, like you say, that think of having a conversation rather than this is a formal
yes.
speech, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That if you
And
could
just
have a
share.
conversation.
And be excited about what you're talking about. I think a lot of people aren't, show up with excitement. Like your energy has a lot to do
Oh,
with
yeah.
how you are as a public speaker. Even if you're not great, if you're energetic, people will latch on to that.
Right.
Show up and just have fun and just enjoy the process. And I think too many people, again, they just get in their head and they make it too much about them. And I have to tell you, there are times when, I did that as well. But when you start learning how to shift that into what I was talking about, it just totally changes everything. And then you actually really enjoy it. You really enjoy the speaking. Hey, it's Ann here, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to ask you, would you like to level up and scale up your coaching or consulting business and go into that $500,000, $1 million or beyond, maybe even in the next year? Well, if it's a big yes for you, then I want to invite you to apply to my next free 2-day virtual event. You do not want to miss this. These are the same strategies I use in my business and the same strategies I teach my high-paying clients so that they can have explosive growth and do it with a premium business. So go apply now, because I have had people make money right out of my free workshops. All you need to do is go to expertinyouworkshop.com, apply to attend, and I'll see you on the inside. Now back to the show.
And I've heard from a PR expert that if you think you were over the top, you're probably just right. So energy wise, come with a lot of energy, and then don't worry if you think you're a little bit overexcited or whatever, because it'll probably be fine.
Yeah. And the other thing too is when you think about a conversation, so one of the things that I like to do is I love to get an audience interacting with me. So if I'm on a stage or I'm speaking, I'm going to be asking them questions. Even when I'm doing a virtual stage, hey, wave at the camera, let me know, all of those things, interact, snap your fingers, give me, give us some love, whatever. All of those things get people engaged. And then again, it's like you're having a conversation with someone else. And it just sort of breaks down those barriers and breaks down those walls. And it makes it more fun for everyone.
Well, and you're absolutely right, because Zoom calls can, everybody can go to sleep and they turn off their picture and they go do something else and try to multitask. I think that's great because that shows your energy. Right. And when you've got energy, it kind of rubs off on everybody else.
Yeah. I think you also have to find what works for you. I run a lot of virtual workshops, and those workshops are typically going to be 2 days, 3 hours each day. And to get a high level people in those. And they're like, oh my gosh, 6 hours, but it flies by. And why does it fly by? One thing I did learn is, from now on, I'm not going to sit and do these workshops and have my whiteboard mirroring to. So I was taught that process. I'm like, nope. Now I pull my whiteboard over. I'm standing. I'm having fun with them. We're engaged. We're, and all those things. And it just, and people comment all the time. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe how fast the time went. And it's because you're engaging them. And so it's the same thing when you're speaking on a stage or you're doing, even in a podcast, you see, I'm waving my arms around. Now people that are listening are not going to see that. But if you're watching the YouTube, you're going to see me waving my arms around and acting a bit silly here. But no, it's important. Have fun. Just have fun with it. We don't
and
need
hopefully they have good internet speed, so it doesn't look like slow motion of the hand.
You know, I have to say, Jan, it's funny you bring that up because that is one of the things that frustrates me about internet. And I think, have we done ourselves a favor being able to speed things up? Because now I watch everything on 1.75 speed. I listen to books on 1.5 or 1.75. And now I think my brain works that way. So now if I'm watching something in regular speed, I'm like, is the internet making it that slow, or is it that I just have got my brain?
Now, I have to admit, I've turned things up to 125% lately. So
yeah.
maybe
I think the internet
does
slow some things down. I know Zoom does. I know Zoom slows down our voice and things like that. So sometimes I'll tell my VA, speed that up just a little bit. Don't make my voice sound funny. Don't speed it to that degree, but speed it up just a little bit. But it's funny. I was talking to somebody in the UK one day and he was listening to something. He goes, it's just a little fast for me. And I'm thinking, really? So it might depend on where you are.
You went the other way.
I guess. I don't know. Anyways.
A little too far.
Jan, this has been so much fun. Give us three takeaways for 2024.
Oh my gosh. I think working in smaller bits is what I'm seeing. In other words, instead of the hour-long episode or the hour-long or and I understand from some friends in this marketing group I'm in, they're looking to do not the long post as much. So maybe more of smaller bits, whether it's the short email course or it's the 5-minute tips, whether it's but to do it in a way that you can be able to share it in several different places, to be able to promote it in several different places, and be able to get to bring people back to you. I think that's really important. I think although the advice we give people is always to start with one platform and work it well. So if you start on LinkedIn, do a good job with it before you move on to the next one. Some people start with a couple of platforms before you try to do all of them at once and kind of overwhelm yourself and you don't do a good job of anything. So I think maybe looking at ways that you can try to put in measurement in how you do your work. So if you're doing LinkedIn, if you're adding Facebook, if you're doing blog posts, kind of measure the results that you're getting to say, to be able to go back each month and say, how did we do? Not just in followers, but in the kinds of results that you wanted, whether it's sales or registrations or whatever you're trying to get out of people. But
those are real ROIs. Followers are not ROIs, people.
No,
they're just
exactly.
Not. Yeah.
You're not making money with followers. You're making money because, and again, it depends upon what you're doing. If you're doing YouTube and you're looking for engagement, you could be making money if you have over 1,000 followers on YouTube. So there's different ways to monetize what you're doing. But I think kind of trying to go a little bit easier on yourself to create more of the content that speaks to what you're trying to close, whether it's the course, the book, the combination of the two, the consulting practice, whatever it is, but have that measurement that you can look at least monthly. If you're not, initially when you put something out, I always recommend that people test. Because one of the things I've said when I kind of look at the industries, the people that look for what is new and dip their toe in the water with a little bit of time and effort and sometimes money to test the waters in something, reap a greater ROI than the people that test it later. So I have this example in the direct response television business. The people that got in the very early days were reaping ROIs where for every $1 they spent in media, they got 12 back or 15 back. And well, today that's like 1 to 1. So if you get $1 back for everyone you spend, and where people have to make the money is in that lifetime value of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, maybe they'll earn 1.2 to 1 because they continue to sell that person over time, or they become a member, or they subscribe, or they do something over time. So I think those things are pay-per-click. In the early days, if you wanted to buy the word mortgage, it was under $1, and then it went to $10, and now it's, sky high, and it doesn't work.
Get it. You can't afford it.
You're not going to get results when you buy it at that price, right? So getting in when you watch the trends and things are moving so fast, but watch them and go, okay, I want to try this, but test it, right? So it's always this is going back to what we know about marketing, the basic principles of marketing. You test it, you see how it does before you roll it out, and you expand what you're spending and time and effort to do that. So yes, those are things those are things I want people to think about. But I want them to also think about taking and doing a campaign for the year 2024, right? What are we going to do where we don't have to spend money, or we spend very little money, and do more of what we've already done? So if you've been doing podcast interviews, if you have a podcast and you're reviewing, do more of the things that help get you reaction. So a friend mentioned something that newsletter audience growth expert Josh Spector said, and then he put an ad for free for her in his newsletter, and she became a testimonial on his website. So now she's got traffic and she got new subscribers because she did something so little, right? So look for the people that you want to collaborate with, and then comment or buy their book or buy their course, or certainly mention and contribute to their audience to help them get more answers, and see these are the kinds of things that you can build on. But planning that campaign of, here are the 100 people that I want to try to reach out to and who have similar audiences to mine that maybe I can do something with, whether we can write a blog post together or an ebook together or an audio book.
What's the best way to find those people, Jan? Let's say I want to find 25 people that have 1 million followers. I'm just using that as an example. What's the best way to find those people?
So there's a lot of ways that you can go into LinkedIn and use those search techniques that are available to you. So you have first degree connections that you're directly connected to, second degree and third degree. So sometimes I'll do a search, and I live in the Seattle area. So I'm like, okay, I want to find a CPA in the Seattle area within my network. Right. So I can do a 1, 2, and or 3 third connection search in the Seattle area for somebody that's in the CPA industry. So you can go to Google and you can say, what are the top podcasts for, and then fill in the blank. Right. So that's it seems as simple as all get out, but absolutely it's a great way to kind of see this.
And I think ChatGPT is now more updated too into 2023. Yes. So you can now ask ChatGPT, where before it was a couple years behind. They said, a lot of the statistics and things were like from 2021, but I think they're updated now. So
yeah. And even ChatGPT would tell you, oh, my information is dated back to such and such a year.
Right.
And it is worth it. And you might, everybody's learning how to do the AI prompts and to do them better, and to do a sequence of what they call super prompts, where you can kind of get out of it what you're looking for. But you can use that. I know that in one of the first webinars on ChatGPT, there was somebody in the audience who was researching something for her PhD, and I want to think if it was in orthopedic medicine. And in 2 years' time, she'd found 20 resources. ChatGPT came up with 40 resources,
in 5
20
seconds.
more. the first 20 that she'd found and another 20 she hadn't seen in 2 years. Plus she verified them and they were all valid, right? So you don't want to you don't leave ChatGPT alone. You want to verify when you're doing research there and make sure that it's giving you good information. I tried to get it to prepare a Wikipedia page for a scientist, and it came back with other scientists with similar names, right? So you kind of have to edit and verify and then improve on the writing and make it more
But it still
into
can
what you're
speed the
trying to do.
result. It can still speed the process for you. So
It's an amazing research
sure
tool
is.
for brainstorming and everything.
It is amazing. So, Jan, this has been so much fun. I always
Thank you.
love talking to you. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. And you are such a wealth of knowledge and information and expertise and wisdom. And so,
well, I certainly enjoy it because we certainly share a passion for doing as much as you can, and planning campaigns and doing a lot to kind of coordinate all your efforts to get the best results.
Yes. So, Jan, how can people find you, and what would you like to lead them to?
Aren't you great? Thank you very much. An easy way is my bio link, which is jancarroza.bio.link, and I'll spell it jancarroza.bio.link. And even my mother had trouble spelling it. And that gives people to a lot of my social. So you can find my Medium post from there, and that's where you can find the post that we share the topic on the 30 ways to leverage other people's platforms to increase your awareness, credibility, and revenues. But you'll also find a link to my podcast, a link to my website. I've got a lot of freebies there for people who are just getting started. So I love helping people. It's one of my passions.
It is one of your passions. You're so great at it too. So,
thank you.
Jan, thank you. Thank you for being my guest. It's
thank you,
such
Ann.
a pleasure to have you on.
Delighted, and can't wait till we see what we do with a year, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, everyone, go connect with Jan. She is on LinkedIn. She's big on LinkedIn. And again, you can use her link. We'll put that in the show notes. And I'm so excited to have you join us for another episode. Yeah. Please share this episode if you found value in this. And also, if you are looking to take your professional business to new levels this year, you want to get into that 7 figures or even beyond, and you want to do it with just a handful of ultra high-end clients, getting those big clients and not having to have a big team and manage a lot, then book a call with me at acarden.com and let's talk about how you can do this in your business. So until next week, you all, God bless you. Go rock your business. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
If you've enjoyed this show, then I want to invite you to check out a free automated webinar where I show you how you can bring in ultra high fee clients for $25,000 to $125,000 or even more. I show you how you can do this maybe even in the next 7 to 60 days. So if you want to check out that free webinar, just go to expertinyouaccelerator.com and I'll see you on the inside. You have an amazing day, and until next time, God bless you. Go rock your business.